What's going on, bottom line viewers? It's Mitch back here with another record prediction. In this video, I'm going to break down the 2020 Baltimore Ravens schedule, letting you know if the Ravens are going to be the number one seed in the AFC once again in 2020. Give you the teams that I think they'll beat, the teams that I think they may lose to in 2020. But the Ravens, of course, high expectations this season, as high as winning the Super Bowl. So this is a team that certainly I have my eyes on going into 2020. Ravens fans, make sure before I dive into their record prediction and my thoughts on the team this year, Gronk spike the like button. Subscribe to the Bottom Line View for more Ravens content and NFL content. Also, comment your opinion below on Baltimore and on the Ravens. Let me know what their record will be in 2020. Do you think they're going to go 16-0, 15-1, 14-2, 10-6? Let me know in the comment section below how you think the Ravens are going to do in 2020. All right, so let's dive into their record for the 2020 season and go game by game and give you the results of their schedule. So let's start off with week number 1. They play the Cleveland Browns, which the Browns, I said this in the Browns record prediction video, I think the Browns match up very well with the Ravens. I think that's actually one of the teams in their division that they definitely need to pay attention to, because I think the Browns are going to be a good team this year. And as you can see up here, 9-5, because I still need to fill out the Ravens games. I believe that they beat the Browns in week 1, but they lose to the Browns on Monday night on the road after playing on Thursday night versus Dallas. That's a really rough stretch there for Baltimore. You play Tennessee, which is a team that beat you in the playoffs. You play Pittsburgh on Thursday night on Thanksgiving. Then you play Dallas on another Thursday night, and then you play Monday versus Cleveland. I think that's a really tough spot. I think that the Cleveland Browns will beat them at least once this year. I believe they did last year. So Cleveland is going to split with Baltimore, and Baltimore is going to split with Cleveland. In week 2, they play the Texans on a Sunday. I believe this might be a primetime game. No, it's not. That's Seattle and New England. Regardless, they play Deshaun Watson, a team that was in the playoffs last year and a really good quarterback, and it's going to be an electrifying game. I mean, look at that. You play Cleveland week 1, Houston week 2, and Kansas City week 3. That's not easy start to the season. I think they'll beat Houston. I just don't believe in Houston's defense. I think it's very, very bad. They don't have a secondary. Their front seven is way too reliant on a J.J. Watt who gets hurt a lot. And their offense, I mean, a lot of weapons and a great quarterback, but not a great offensive line. I think Baltimore's defensive line can dictate the pace there. So I'm going to go with Baltimore in week 2. They also have the secondary to match up with Houston's receivers. Week 3, they play the Chiefs. And as you guys know, this is a really huge game. This is probably one of the best games of the season, of the entire schedule I'm talking. Kansas City, they're the Super Bowl champs, and they have the Ravens number. But I think this is finally where the Ravens are able to beat the Chiefs here in week 3 on Monday night. Again, Monday night at home, that's the ultimate advantage. But when I look at Baltimore, I see a team that is made to beat the Chiefs. On offense, they can run the football and really control the clock, and they can keep Mahomes on the sidelines. And then when you look at their defense, they're built from the secondary up. So they're built back to front. And I think that's the way you have to beat the Chiefs, just like New England did a couple seasons ago because of their great secondary. I think Baltimore can do that in this game. Week 4, they play Washington on the road. That will be a rough, tough game that might be a little closer than people expect, but I think Baltimore will win. Then you have week 5 versus Cincinnati at home. I think Cincinnati, again, more talented than people want to give them credit for, but not ready to play Baltimore at Baltimore. Week 6, they play the Eagles in Philly. I think the Eagles win. And the reason here is because I think the Eagles are one of those teams with Fletcher Cox and Hargrave and Brandon Graham and Barnett and their defense and the way they're structured that they can stop Lamar Jackson in the rushing attack. And I think it's one of the few teams that can win the line of scrimmage versus a team like Baltimore. So I think Eagles in Philly will win. Then you have week 7 versus Pittsburgh at home. I think this first matchup will be a victory because it's in Baltimore. I think Pittsburgh's a really good team this year with a really good defense, but I think Baltimore does have the upper hand on them as of late with them controlling the entire game in week 17, even with some of their backups in. So I'm going to go Baltimore in week 7. Then they have the bye week. They play Indy. I think Indy's an interesting matchup for Baltimore because, like Tennessee in the playoffs, they can really run the ball and have a really strong offensive line. Their defense is interesting because the Colts' defense is fast. It's really well schemed and coached. This might be a sleeper loss type of game here. I'm intrigued by this one. I'm going to hold off on this one real quick. Week 10 versus New England, I think this one will be close. I think Belichick's going to come out and fight hard to get this win. But I just don't think New England has enough offensively to pull off the upset, so I'm going to go with Baltimore in Week 10. I think they'll get revenge versus Tennessee in Week 11. That's going to be a huge game that they circle on their calendar, and they'll be ready to play that one. Week 12, they play in Pittsburgh on Thanksgiving. I think they lose that game. Then they play Dallas in Week 13 at home. I think they win that game. And like I said, I think they lose to Cleveland. That's a really awesome stretch just as a fan. I think they'll lose 2 of 3 there. Then you have Week 15 versus Jacksonville at home. I think they run them over after a loss versus Cleveland. Then they play the Giants at home. They beat the Giants as well. And they finish off the season versus Cincinnati, and they win that game. I think I'm going to give them a loss versus the Colts. I think they finished 12-4, maybe 13-3, maybe even 14-2. But there's a lot of tough teams that they have to play. They have to play Pittsburgh twice, Cleveland twice. They have to play Dallas. They have to play the Chiefs. They have to play the Colts, the Eagles, the Texans. This is a hard schedule, man. So I think the Ravens end up winning 12 games, and I think they actually, at the end of the day, are the first seed in the AFC once again. But that's the way I see it going down. Those are the teams that I think they'll beat. Those are the teams I think they'll lose to. Reasoning behind the Colts, I think their defense is very fast, which allows them to track down Lamar Jackson in the open field. And with a guy like Darius Leonard, a middle linebacker, for example, they're very well schooled by Matt Eberflus. And then offensively, they have a very strong offensive line. So I think that Rivers and Reich will be able to win that game, but they could definitely win it. So 12-4 I have for the Ravens this year in 2020. Let me know in the comment section below what you think of the Ravens this year. You think they're 12-4? You think that's accurate? Or you think they're better? Or you think they're worse? It's Mitch with the Bottom Line View. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, subscribe, Gronk spike the like button, and peace.